Hello, good morning, and welcome to WhiteDetails. This episode, I hope to take this and use the GoPro to record a bit of a, not so much a how-to or a tutorial, but my new car, the Z4M Coupé, it's awaiting a detail. So it needs its full wash, safe wash, decontamination, and get it onto the ramp. And I want to take you through the steps that's required to do that. Not so much a tutorial. I still need to do a dedicated tutorial on the safe wash, but hopefully in this you'll pick up endless tips and stay with me for the journey. Alright, so welcome to WhiteDetails. This week I've actually landed some spare time, and the lead up to Christmas, sort of rude not to get the prep work in, ready for a couple of days paint correction over the Christmas holidays, whilst I have the opportunity and the chance. So the car is about to receive its full safe wash and decontamination. The wheels, not going to be touching the wheels in this video. They've just been refurbished, and the arches, just yesterday I took the opportunity to flush the arches and dress them. It was never going to be exciting enough to record for the vlog, unfortunately, but perhaps the touring, it's a daily used car, it's dirtier, more of a turnaround. So cleaner this vehicle can be made without physical contact, the better. I apologise for any dribbles or sniffles or coughs, or it's pretty chilly out here today. It's about 1 or 2 degrees. Sapphire black in colour, 80,000 miles, pretty dirty. There's a lot on the surface in way of damaged material, if you will. All this needs to come off the car before physical contact is made. So starting usually the dirtiest areas to get the door shuts, the engine compartment and the boot surrounds, get them flushed and tackled first. This is different for me, not used to this. Just walking around the yard talking to myself. For this operation, it just requires bit of precision pressure washing. Hopefully you can hear me over the noise the pressure washer there. Rinse the surrounding area, jet the underside without covering the whole interior. Always best if you can trap the lance in your leg like so, so when you're up here it's less likely to go bang against the wheels or the bodywork. Okay, the loose stuff has been shifted. This blue microfiber always stays in a car for a wash for this purpose, to wipe down any excess. You're gonna get a bit, always gonna get a bit. I think that's almost impossible to not, especially when there's angles. And so we got a degreaser. Even in a normal wash scenario, these areas, they at least need flushing. You imagine all the bits and the dirt and the grit that fly underneath the door sit there. And then when your towel in the car dry, they then lose themselves onto the towel and scratch your paintwork. So, okay, this isn't a maintenance wash. This is a full wash procedure that we're going to go onwards to do some paint correction. But it's good practice to get into that routine if time allows. So the soft bristle brush you're watching me using, this thing is a gem. It really is quite special. I've had it now for some time. It's from the Detail Factory. The information for this brush can be found down below. And this brush, once upon a time, was a radiator brush. Having the angle helps you to agitation, rinse it off, start at the top and down. Okay, the door shuts on this are very clean already, but again, you really want to make sure everything is flushed Certainly the blow drying stage, which we'll see later on, you'll end up finding dirt that you never found before, which then leads to potentially all sorts of problems with contamination, cross-contamination. Alright, boot jam next. Close that. Rinse the area. Again, I don't think it's too bad. I have washed this vehicle twice, and the twice I've washed it I've been around here with the microfiber. Let's change you. What I don't particularly want to do at this point is too much of this. I'd rather disconnect the lance, close this too, and if you allow the water to seep inside the panel gaps, it's gonna rinse it just as thoroughly, if not better, and you're avoiding covering the whole interior in spray. Alright, just giving that a wipe with the minks. As I say, the wheels haven't been, normally this whole process would start one corner at a time. Rinse the arch out, do the wheel, rinse the arch out, do the wheel, rinse the arch out, do the wheel, rinse as you go. But that step has been skipped. The more time we spend rinsing this thing off, the safer it's going to be come the physical wash stage. So all the loose road material, areas that dirt accumulates underneath the mirrors, behind the mirror casing, we're going to be here for about 10 minutes. Alright, rinsed off. Now all the damaged material, all the loose stuff is on the floor. All that we should be left with now, maybe a few bug etchings and traffic film. So this step, snow foam, helps to soften things even further. Sometimes it can be an overkill step, the snow foam, but it's very much part of the safe wash process as we know it now. And what it also allows you to do, back to the detail factory brush, is cleanse and clean the areas that you can guarantee you'll never get to with a mitt. So these areas really haven't been deep cleansed and properly cleaned. Right, so down the side of the A-pillar there, any loose material, debris, well, hopefully the loose stuff is gone because of the pressure rinse. Now it's amazing sometimes to see people not really, just literally just wetting the car, and not even wetting the car before snow foaming the car, and then they go about this process with the brush and make sure that the badges are brushed off and underneath the registration surround, these sort of areas. But if imagine you've not spent the time removing the physical light stuff, all you're doing at this stage is you're just pushing dirt around the panel. The edges and the panel gaps are still containing all the grit and the crud and the loose that you're now just pushing against the paintwork. That first initial rinse stage for me is actually more important than snow foam. Happy with that. I don't want this foam on there for too long, especially with the heat from the bonnet now because the engine's on. Alright, shampoo's ready, 2-bucket system. One thing to help avoid contamination, cross-contamination, the nozzle for the lance usually it sits down there on the floor getting all bits and grime. And so before I want to put that in the shampoo and agitate the bubbles, well, I don't want it in there. I want it in the arch and wheel bucket to make sure that loose stuff is removed before going in. Anyway, we've got the grit guards sat on the bottom here. Something I'll go into in more depth during the safe wash guide video whenever that comes out. But whilst I'm doing the wash, imagine you've got a single bucket, traditional bucket and sponge. The dirt that you take off the car, bearing in mind we've done a lot of that already now with the pre-wash and the rinsing and the traditionally you're not doing that. So your bucket and sponge scenario, yeah, you might be cleaning the dirt off and picking it up on the sponge, and you're going back into the same bucket of shampoo, dirt included, back onto the car, back into the bucket, back onto the car, back in. That window's not sat very high. Window is halfway down. One bucket, you're just transferring dirty water from the car to the bucket, back onto the car. So introducing this second rinse bucket before I go back in the shampoo. I'm getting rid of all that, well, hopefully nothing, it's just a film, before going back onto the car with fresh, clean shampoo. When we're finished, shampoo bucket is going to be clean, fresh, ready for 3 series potentially. And then the rinse bucket is black and full of the dirt that's come off the little coupe. One large panel or 1.5 panels before I go to sort of do the rinse, and I don't want to go down too far. I'll stop at the bottom of the door and save the sill till last, and then the underside of the sill to the very last with a separate wash medium. Nearing the end of the wash, think back to the snow foam when it was delivered and go around the in-strip bits with a detail brush. It's now that sort of comes into its own. There's a lot of areas in this car, and more so in other cars with different intricacies, that you're not really going to get a mitt into. One thing I would like to see people make more conscious effort with and be more aware of is their mapping of the car. If I'm washing the wheel arch here, I don't want to be so far down that the mitt's going to be touching the tyre. I need to hold it just above. You imagine the tyre is going to be covered, it's going to be gritty. You're then picking that up on the mitt or the towel, off you go. So you need to always think about overlap, more so the drying towel. Then we'll probably get into that once we're inside. Still safe till last. I'm going to go down as far as the vertical. I'm not going underneath, because I'm going to go around them areas now with a separate mitt. See it out. Beautiful thing. That lives on there. Okay, so just the underside of the sills now to do. One of the wheel arches are immaculate. As I say, the vehicle has not been driven since yesterday's arch wash. Now, separate wash medium for this part. I'm embarrassed to tell you that this is it. Once upon a time, this straggly old horrible thing used to be a Swiss Fax wash puddle, but this is the perfect thing just to get underneath the side skirts to get the crud, the loose stuff. Still using the 2 bucket, get rid of that lot. The bottom corner of the bumper, there's a bit of a ledge under there, clean that up. We have a clean car, or do we? This is a tar remover, 80,000 miles, 11 years old. If it's never been done before, we're going to find tar deposits on this surface. If you just go now straight to drying the vehicle down and polishing, you'll probably end up picking the tar deposit up and cleaning the tar off the car. But you're then picking the tar deposit up on the polishing pad, and it's then going to score the paint, tar cloth, and you've got a contaminated pad. I'm going to do well to find any, and if I do find any, show you guys, because of course tar is black, the car is black, and you're very much relying on feel. Alright, so when you put the cloth, if you look there, can't see a lot. If you do that, you're looking for high spots. I've not seen a great deal. I know the car has had some paint work, I've discovered that much already. So if the paint work's been done more recently, it's going to have eliminated any previous tar deposits. Tiny stubborn bit, really low down the sill, but that is a surprise. Not a lot else. Now if I've missed anything, we'll soon be identifying that in 20 minutes time with a clay bar. On a small vehicle like this, you can get away with doing one side of the car at a time. You don't want to be leaving it on too long. So a full rinse down to remove the residue. Usually if the car's going to be caked, lathered up in tar, it's going to be the lower portions, more so the near side, the side near the curb, ripping up the loose tarmac, that sort of stuff. And then the back end of the vehicle, the aero, especially something like this, it's quite a flat back end. The air is going to circulate and hold deposits and contamination and stick it onto the surface. So see if there's much. Oh, there's a touch up there. Oh, I've not seen you before. Oh, there's paint on the lens as well. Well, I am surprised. Very little in the way. Again, consciously make an effort to avoid the tyre. It's just common sense, really. Is the GoPro recording? The GoPro is recording. We have one washed car. Now that's the chemical decontamination complete. I'm not a big fan at this stage of using the iron fallout. I don't think it deems it. The car's not that dirty. I'm going to go in and clay bar it now. So there's a two-part decontamination process for this car. Tar removal, bonded surface contamination removal via the clay bar. And then we can dry the discs off, towel it down, blow it dry, and get it on the ramp. Okay, bad news on the GoPro, it's had to go on charge. Unfortunately at this time I'm just with the one battery for the unit. However, it is Christmas and I have given that spare battery option as a bit of a gift because I've been a good boy this year and Santa will hopefully deliver. This is the Rag Company Twist and Shout. It's a really absorbent, thirsty drying towel. I'm not paying too much attention to. I'm certainly not pat drying the vehicle, put it that way. If you really want to eliminate the risk of inducing any marring, pat drying is going to be your safest option. For me, this is just a quick dry down. It's still one of the safest washes it will have ever had in its life, I think. Ready for the clay bar. The more protection you're going to have on your vehicle, the easier this drying stage is going to be. In fact, the majority of the cars that leave here, you can dry them with water. As daft as that sounds, if you sheet water from the roof down, again watching the overlap on the towel, not allowing it to, if you sheet the water on the panel, it's going to slip, it's going to slide down, and it's going to remove the majority of the standing water before you physically have to make contact to the car. So the clay bar, what is it? What does it do? You should know this by now. I think a lot of you, unless you're new here, the clay bar, it's the second, sometimes third contamination removal process. Clean piece is clay. In the bucket here, there are two more pieces. This is a boiling bucket of water, and you've now all condensed up. Keep the lid on there, contain some of the heat. And this is just water. This clay, again, the regulars will know, is WhiteDetails. WhiteDetails clay bar. I'm not paid, I'm not sponsored, I'm not... What on earth's going on with this trigger? It's just in my findings, it's the best clay bar for me to be using. This is just water, there's no special lubrication required. So what is this doing? The vehicle isn't clean after the wash. You have to remove the tar. The vehicle still isn't clean. There's going to be bonded contamination, sap, organic matter, iron, fallout, pollutants, rail dust, stuff that's sat, bonded, etched to the paintwork. So the process, it's mechanical, it's quite agricultural really. Essentially what we're doing is cleansing, exfoliating the pores of the paint, the surface. A lot of this is really difficult to spot. If the vehicle was white in colour, you would be able to see very, very fine pinheads, contamination spots, highlights that you can actively aim towards removing. Now on this car, we're relying on sound. Sometimes you can hear it if it's really rough, and touch. If you run your hand over the panel, again, it's pretty smooth. There's not much going on here, so I'm not expecting a great deal of pickup on the clay. So the white piece of clay, on the most part, is going to be turning on the edges a shade of orange, yellow, dirty stuff that's been pulled off the paint. Going back to me saying about if I missed any tar deposits, do the glass as well here. Any big dark scores, any striped black strike on the clay bar is going to be that of a tar deposit that you've missed. So why do we do the clay bar second? Clay bar is going to pick up tar deposits, but as I said earlier, imagine contaminating a clay bar with tar deposits. Great, you've picked them away from the body's surface, but then you're risking the chance of scratching the surface with a piece of sediment, a piece of tar rubbing against your paintwork. Yeah. So the boiling water, the boiling water is there to soften and to keep the clay workable. It's out of the box, it's rock hard, especially the temperatures in the unit at the minute. I'll stick the heating on tomorrow. Hot water keeps the clay soft. How many times can you use the clay bar? Depends what you're using it for, what you're using it on, and how dirty the clay bar becomes. The piece I've just returned to the bucket, which I'll reach for again shortly. I've got 3 pieces in circulation. Before I use that next, I'm going to fold the clay bar. They're not expensive clay bars. You can downgrade that then to use it on wheels, that sort of stuff. But again, just be conscious that if you are going straight to the clay bar without any tar removal stage, then you will be reducing the life of your clay quite dramatically, because you'll be contaminating it with big clumps of tar. Oh, nearly lost it. That's one thing, if you do drop your clay bar, game over. The slightest bit of debris, dirt, grit, whatever in the clay, you're really going to ruin your paint. All right, you get the idea of the clay bar now. I'm going to work around the rest of the car. Do the glass, do the driver's side, door sills, and then I'll meet you at the blow dry stage. Why did that get stuck there? Really starting to take my time with this one. Good job it's not a, stay there, paid commission. So the rag company minks, the next step forward, going forward, the process is going to be to blow the vehicle down to eliminate all the trapped water and the drips. Any water dripping down, mirrors, badges. The vehicle blower is going to eliminate the majority, but a bit of a head start, a bit of a cheat. I just run this minks towel around door shuts, around the engine bay. This towel, it's funny, it gets better the heavier it gets, the more it absorbs, the more efficient it becomes. Again, these are the sort of areas that when you do introduce the vehicle blower, these sort of areas, if they're not flushed, cleansed, clean, then they are going to kick out all the loose debris all over the nicely playboard paintwork. Just something to be mindful of there as well. GoPro on, record on, maybe press and hold. What's it say? Not. This is now the final part of the prep stage before we go on to some sort of polishing. So I've switched down to the Platinum Pluffle, the Rag Company Platinum Pluffle. It's a much more manageable drying towel. And when you see the vehicle blower in action, we're going to then pick up the water that runs with the Pluffle, if not blow off the panel completely. This process normally takes, on this car, I'm going to guesstimate, it's just on 12, about 20 minutes. Some cars you can be going for 30, 40 minutes. Knew I was forgetting something. What a bugger. Oh, it's nice and warm though. That took about 15 minutes. It was 15:15 when I finished. We have a clean, blown dry car. The wheels obviously not been touched. The shuts, the engine compartment, the boot shut, everything is bone dry. The vehicle now will come from this side to this side in the air whilst drying the discs off. So if we leave these wet discs now, if we leave these, it will get thicker, heavier, crustier rust. But if we just do some quick movements on the brakes, it'll clean the rust off, making them nice and clean and shiny. So next time the owner, I, hit the brakes, the dust isn't going to go sticking to the wheels. Here's a little tip for you. Valve caps. Colour coded them with little stamps on the end. That says R on the end of the blue. On the end of the red, that says F. On the end of the red, that says R. Red is for the right hand side of the vehicle, which this is. And then F, so red for right. And then F, obviously being front. Stick that on there, just to ID what's what, because at times there are instances where we're carrying multiple wheels or spaces tight, so it's difficult to try and keep the corners correct. But this way, it's a no-brainer. Blue for the near side, and F because this was off the front. Before we can get any idea on the paint condition to do paint inspection, it's always nice to be able to just start fresh with an IPA wipe down, panel wipe, IPA degreaser, whatever it may be, just to pull off any residue smears from the drying. What I'm using here is Spice Heckler 7010. Now apologies, the GoPro is back on charge. really sort of need to get into the habit of, well, need to get another battery. As we can see down the off side of the car, starting to do some taping up in readiness for the polishing to commence tomorrow. Why do we tape? Various cars in the past have proven the point why we do tape. These edges don't want to be made contact with the polisher. It's quite simple. You can easily damage the trim if the edge of the pad hits it, if the backing plate hits it, if you just get polish on it in the first place. You know what it's like when you're trying to chase polish residue. Some areas like this, sort of a difficult setup going on. If we crack the boot, gives us an easier option of doing the base like that. Fold it over on itself. And then maybe one more top to bottom to cover any overlap that there might be. Although thinking about it. Oh. To polish this very small triangular section here, likely what I'm going to do anyway is jam the boot lid half open. Perhaps didn't even need to tape this, look, that's completely out of the way now. If that can be stabilized there, this edge is clean and clear, good scratch there. But it's done now. So the whole of the exterior has been panel wiped. The paint is naked, it is clean, it is ready for a paint inspection. So I'll just put 5 or 6 more pieces of this down, and then we'll start to take a look at the bigger picture. All right, finally then, we'll have a look over the paintwork. I'm yet to, sapphire black is such a difficult color to photograph and to show the damage. I'm yet to decide how far I am taking this. An 11-year-old car, it's had a bit of body work. Bitty body? It's had a bit of body work. There are stone chips. You can see the degree of damage down the side of the door, all the light stuff, the more obvious stuff. We go onto the wing, clusters of sander marks in places, lots of road rash down the bottom portions. We've got here, left to right, some deeper marks, deeper stretches. Yeah, if this was a white detail booking, if this one was a booking coming in from a customer, there's a long way it can go. The beauty of landing this car at this period of time in the year is Christmas, and I've given myself plenty of time away from work, so much so here we are on my own car, but a bit of a blend mark here behind the handle. So I'm not in a rush. I'm not I don't think I'm chasing perfection, as nice as it would be. Good stretch here, 1, 2, couple on the rear deck here on the very edge, on the very edge. One thing I definitely will be doing is changing these out. That should be blue, red, not black. Keep it as original as possible. I'll put it back to as original as possible. Clusters of sander marks, a degree of sander marks on the offside wing. See how it breaks there. Yeah, sapphire black's not an easy colour to pick out on camera, unfortunately. The worst area on the car being the front bumper. This wing doesn't look too pretty. Lots of heavy sander marks, flatter marks on this arch edge. Nice cluster in the very base here. And then more so on the bumper. So the wheels have been refurbished already. I've had them refurbished. They had been refurbished on the cheap, and at the same time they had the bumper done. So the wheels were less than average, and the bumper unfortunately is less than average we look at where the registration surround was, and again, there's a masking mark. So they've not removed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. They could have painted the whole lot. So we're left with an edge, masking marker on the kidney grills, edges to feather out, lots to try and fix. And look at this. Oh, it's actually the first time I've actually properly looked around and investigated. Kind of wish I didn't now. Oh, body shops. Right, I think that's about it. Door's been painted. A lot of the car's been painted. To be honest, the cars that do come through the doors here of this age, there aren't many that haven't had paint. It just so happens that this problem is mine. Initial polish and pad combinations could have been better, but that's what it's all about. I will show you some of the results in a future video. The ramp is now available for the next couple of weeks. It's the holiday period. I'm not in a rush to get this one completed. I'm gonna sort of pick up on it as and when I feel like it, as the diary allows over this Xmas period. If you've taken something away from this journey, from the vehicle being dirty, the prep, to get it to this stage now where the bulk of the transformation is about to begin. If you've learned something, hit that like button, tap the thumbs up down below if you want to be updated with future updates for the rest of the car's progress and the journey. Hit subscribe, helps the channel to grow. And again, thank you for the continued support over the last 12 months. That's me done. Bye for now.